Are you getting what you actually need from your doctor? Do they listen to you and consider your point of view when creating a treatment plan? If the answer is no, why haven't you found a new one yet? I know that finding a new doctor can be a long and daunting process. I usually describe this process like dating. You need to find a doctor or healthcare provider who has the skills and expertise that you need, but you also need to be able to feel comfortable with them and trust them and find somebody who understands and listens to you. Unfortunately, since you can't invite your potential doctor prospects out for coffee before you commit to them, this means that you have to schedule an appointment and learn more about them before your visit. Sometimes this means that you have to spend a lot of time on somebody and it still just doesn't work out. So yeah, it kind of sucks to shop around for a new doctor, especially if you're in the middle of trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with you, but it's often very necessary. According to the American Autoimmune and Related Disease Association, the average autoimmune patient sees 4 doctors in a 4-year period before getting any kind of diagnosis. So even if what you're dealing with isn't an autoimmune disease, you might still need to kiss a few toads before you find your prince. There are so many reasons why you might want to find a new doctor. Some of the most common reasons that I, as a nurse practitioner, hear are that your current doctor isn't listening to what you say. They dismiss your symptoms and tell you that you're depressed or have anxiety, or they blame everything that you're experiencing on being overweight. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like a good fit for no obvious reasons, and that's okay too. Have you ever stopped to consider how your doctor actually became your doctor? There are a lot of different ways that people choose their doctor, but something that I'm often surprised at is how many people are unhappy with their choice. When I ask patients why they stuck with their previous provider so long, if they were unhappy, the most common answer I get is that they just didn't have the time and energy to put into finding a new one. So let me make it easier and give you some insider tips. Step number 1 is to know exactly what you want, but accept that you might not get all of the things. Before you go out and search for a new doctor, it's important to understand exactly what you do and don't want, and what qualifies as a good doctor for you may not feel like a good fit for others. So do you want someone who's just going to write you a prescription for your complaints, or do you prefer somebody who will work with you on diet and lifestyle modifications before considering medications? Do you want a doctor who has the time to listen to you and have a discussion about what's going on for 30 minutes, or do you just need to be in and out as fast as possible? Being specific with yourself about what you need and what you want will help you in this process. The best place to start is to examine what you do or don't like about your current doctor and expand your list from there. One important thing to note is that if you are looking for a specialist or a surgeon instead of a primary care doctor, you want the best possible option you can find, no matter what your preferences are. When I worked in the hospital, I worked with a lot of surgeons, and I would absolutely pick the one that was most skilled, regardless of what their bedside manner was like or how long I had to wait in the waiting room before seeing them. Finding the best surgeon can be tricky. You'll want to know their qualifications, specifically what their board certifications are, if they've completed any specialized training in the area related to your surgery. You can typically find this information on their clinic website or the website of the hospital where they will be performing your surgery. You also want to know what their infection rates are, as well as the infection rates for the facility where you're having your surgery, because those two things are not always mutually exclusive. So sometimes the infection rate at the hospital or surgery center can be higher, and it's not actually related to the surgeon. So step number 2 is to determine what kind of doctor or other healthcare provider you actually need. There are a lot of different specialists out there who treat similar symptoms. If your problem is back pain, for example, do you need to see a primary care physician, an orthopedic surgeon, a neurosurgeon, a rheumatologist, or a pain management doctor? The answer to this question depends on what's causing the pain, which isn't always obvious if this is a new problem for you. Going from specialist to specialist can be expensive, so if you aren't sure what kind of doctor specializes in treating your condition, or if you don't have a diagnosis yet, start with your primary care doctor first. In addition, if your complaints are less specific or you're just looking for a new primary care doctor, be aware that there are many different kinds of healthcare practitioners besides doctors who might better suit your needs. For example, there are nurse practitioners, which is what I am, physician's assistants, naturopathic doctors, registered dietitians, physical therapists, and a whole bunch more. I wrote an entire article about how to build your personal healthcare team that will help you figure out which of these providers is right for you. I also have a quiz that will help you figure out which of these providers might be right for you or a good place to start. You can find the link for that article and the quiz in the notes below this video. Step number 3 is to ask for recommendations. If you're looking for a doctor or healthcare provider in the area where you live, ask your friends nearby who they see and what they like about them. This step can be trickier if you're looking for a specialist, as it's harder to know what kind of specialized medical care your friends might be getting, but this method works well for general or primary care providers. If you're looking for a specialist and you have a primary care doctor already who you do like, ask them who they would recommend you to see for your specific issue. For me and my patients, if I don't have a preferred option for a specialist, I also have a lot of friends who are doctors or work in the medical field and can reach out to them for suggestions as well. So this is one reason why it's important to have a good relationship with your doctor when you need care outside their office. You want to know that you can trust their recommendations because you already trust them and their judgment. Step number 4 is to do a Google search. The easiest way to start your search is by searching for doctors near me or the type of doctor plus your city, so functional medicine doctor plus Seattle. As you're looking through the results, some things to consider are office location, education and background, specialty areas or areas of interest, languages spoken, how many years they've been in practice, gender, types of insurance accepted, are they accepting new patients? And for surgeons or specialists, you'll want to know hospital affiliations or facilities where they work. That might be important depending on your insurance. And while I don't typically recommend using review sites like healthgrades.com as a way to find a new doctor, I do suggest that you do a quick search for reviews to find any potential problems. Most of these rating websites don't have enough data about specific providers to make a good decision. So a 4.6 star rating based on 3 reviews is not super helpful. But reading some of the negative comments can give you some insight into how the office is run or more about the provider. Keep in mind that these should also be taken with a grain of salt, as you may be missing out on greater context. And if you've ever read the reviews on Yelp for any restaurant, you know that some people are just never happy. I would not use these reviews as something to make or break a decision, but it's a good place to get information to add to the bigger picture of making this decision. Most medical practices these days also have websites, and while web design is incredibly important, know that not every practice has the time and resources to build a good website. I know some amazing providers who have really terrible websites and some not so great providers who have really beautiful websites. So as much as I'd love to tell you that you should call only offices that have pretty websites, this is not a situation where you should be judging a book by its cover. If you know you're looking for a holistic, alternative, or functional medicine provider, I recommend searching via the Institute for Functional Medicine or the Paleo Physicians Network, and I will also put links for those below this video. Step number 5 is to do an Instagram search. One of the most common questions I get is, how do I find someone like me in X city? So I don't have a lot of connections for healthcare providers outside of Anchorage, Alaska, but I have gotten to know quite a few of them through Instagram. So depending on the type of provider you're looking for, you might be able to do a hashtag search on Instagram and find people near you. So something like hashtag functional medicine, hashtag root cause, or hashtag holistic health, even a hashtag related to the specific condition or symptom that you're experiencing. Unfortunately, you can't filter these results by location, so this is not a quick process, but it can be a good way to get to know somebody's personality before you decide if you want to work with them or not. Plus, a lot of people can work with you virtually, especially right now, so location might not matter so much. You can also do a search for any of the people that you found during your Google search on social media and see if they have a presence there. Another good social media strategy is, if you do follow any healthcare providers that you do like on social media, see who they follow or who follows them. Sometimes you can find good options nearby that way. It's pretty hit or miss depending on the types of accounts you follow, but sometimes you get lucky. If a potential doctor match does have a social media presence, this is a good place to determine if they have any specialty areas or things that they really like talking about. Are they constantly ranting about things and seem really confrontational, or are they using their platform to educate? Do they have interests outside of their job? What else are they also interested in? For example, it's important to me that I have a provider who understands an active lifestyle. Many years ago, when I was struggling with fatigue, I was told by one too many providers that if I was tired, I should just stop running. However, running and being outside is incredibly important to me, and I knew something else was going on. It wasn't until I found a provider who really listened to me that we figured out what exactly was going on. Everyone else just heard that I needed a nap after running 3 miles, not that that was incredibly abnormal for me and something wasn't right. Social media is also a good place to see how these potential matches interact with other people in the comments of their posts, or do they interact with people at all? Step number 6 is to make an appointment. After you found one or two doctors or nurse practitioners or other kind of healthcare provider who meet your criteria, it's actually time to schedule an appointment. There is absolutely no other way to figure out if you want to have a long-lasting relationship with this person and trust them with your health. You have to make an appointment, you have to make time for it, and you have to understand that this may not work out and you might need to start this process all over again. As you're making the appointment, be sure to pay attention to the way the staff answers the phone and interacts with you. If you leave a message, how quickly do they get back to you? Are they able to answer any questions that you have, or do they direct you to where you can get the answer for yourself? While these are not direct markers of how you'll get along with a new doctor, the way that the staff treats patients is often a good indicator of how they get along with the doctors in the office. Staff who are respected by their providers tend to go above and beyond for the patients at their office. So before your first visit to your new doctor, you can download the cheat sheet that I made for you, which is linked below this video, to get a list of what to bring to your first appointment, as well as a list of questions to ask your new doctor at your first appointment. This guide is based on my 11 plus years in practice and what I should have asked my doctors as I was searching for a new one, as well as what I wish my patients would ask me when I meet them for the first time. If you have medical records that need to be reviewed, find out how you can submit those ahead of time for your doctor to review. They need time to look over them. On more than one occasion, I've been handed a giant stack of past medical history for a patient as I'm walking into the exam room for our first appointment because the patient brought it with them. And both you and your provider will have a more productive appointment if the provider is able to review those records before your appointment. It's completely up to you whether or not you share why you're switching providers with your new doctor. If you do share this information, be sure to do so in a respectful manner, as this is providing information about your expectations for your relationship with your new doctor. It's hard to explain how you know if you found the right doctor, since so much of this decision is based on how well they meet your requirements and what your gut tells you. Remember that you probably won't find one that meets all of your criteria, but be sure to understand what is important on your list and what is just a nice to have, but isn't critical for having a relationship with this person. If this new doctor didn't meet your expectations or you don't feel like it's a good fit, keep looking. This process, again, can be long and frustrating, but chances are if you're looking for a new doctor, you already understand how frustrating it is to have one that doesn't listen to you or isn't a good fit. In the end, all we have is our health, so it is absolutely worth the time and effort it takes to find a doctor who you trust and who will actually help you. If you don't feel like your needs are being met by your current provider, you have every right to find a new doctor. You don't even have to tell your old doctor that you're leaving. While it may feel like you're at the mercy of your healthcare provider to help you, in reality, you're hiring them for their expertise. If you had a plumber that did a bad job or an electrician who wired something wrong and set your house on fire, would you continue to use them? It shouldn't be any different when hiring somebody to help you with your health.